Welcome to Richard and Greg, a channel dedicated to discussion, debate and argument on a whole array of topics. In today's video we discuss China, how it is coping with the coronavirus crisis, and whose economy appears to be improving at a much faster rate than the rest of the world's economies. We discuss its rise and to what extent we believe the figures coming out of China. We also came across an interesting article we found on Bloomberg Businessweek magazine, which suggested that China's resurgence is no accident, but is carefully planned. So let's take a look. Welcome to Richard and Greg. The day is Thursday, the 5th of November 2020, and it's 12:19 early afternoon, GMT +1. Now today we're going to talk about China for a number of reasons. The first is that we came across an article in Bloomberg Businessweek, which we'll be putting on the Illuminati Silver site and quite possibly might actually put up on this one too. Under the headline, China is rising in the eyes of the United States and the West, but in its own historical perspective, this is a restoration, where it basically talks about the Chinese empire and how China only recently have been perhaps the poor relation compared with the Western world. Whereas if you go back hundreds of years and thousands of years, it predominantly dominated trade, where visitors to China were amazed at the level of silk and gold leaf that they encountered in those days. We're also talking about China, obviously because of the dispute with the United States. Also, they've announced today, in fact, that they are banning all flights from the UK, Belgium, and the Philippines unless they only contain Chinese residents. And we're smiling slightly, whereas some may argue, and I suspect Greg will, that it's a sensible thing to do. But isn't it ironic, bearing in mind that the United States banned flights from China, now China are banning flights from other countries. We're also looking at China because of other breaking news, where President Xi says that he's open to various forms of trade deals, etc., etc. So without further ado, let's go over to Greg, talk about the coronavirus, but then expand that further into China. And what political game or strategy does he think they are now adopting? Greg, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. China is at the moment pretty much in the ascendancy, mainly because, unfortunately, America has made basically various errors, effectively losing the respect of many countries around the world. Respect that they had taken many years to build up has been shattered in the last 4. That is not to say that Trump was the best or the worst leader. It is to say what has actually happened. And we have seen coronavirus in America now killing 723 people out of every million of the population so far. And I say so far because this is a rising figure. Britain is also doing very badly in that we have just topped 700 per million. Last week we were on around 680 per million. America is the 9th highest level of death per million worldwide. Britain, on that same measurement, is 11th highest, with countries like Belgium far outstripping us with 1,062 and Peru 1,047. Though fortunately, the rest of the world is recording deaths of under 1,000 per million. Though I am very suspicious of figures because they are frequently portrayed as inaccurate and frequently seem to turn out that way. It is hardly surprising, really, that China is on the march. the Chinese people have come out of a long period of difficulty post-Mao and post their so-called Cultural Revolution that killed so many of them and fractured the country. China has had a century of internal strife, and also as a result of that, problems from beyond its borders. China has now restabilized. The people of China have redeveloped ambition and have started to capitalize and be more of a, albeit a communist state-run country. It has strong elements of capitalism, people who want products, people who want goods, and people who want luxury in their lives after a century of struggle. As a result, they have been and are now expanding worldwide. One only has to look at their success in so many countries in Africa, a success that we have permitted them to have by withdrawing our interests from Africa in the interest of African independence, that in most countries has gone spectacularly wrong, leading to re-emergence of tribal warfare, re-emergence of genocide, and internal civil wars that China has capitalized on. We now see that China has not only expanded in the Middle and Far East, but is expanding rapidly with the Silk Road re-establishing itself, crossing north of the Himalayas into the edge of Europe, and now well established in Europe, particularly in the fashion industry in northern Italy. China is on the ascendancy, and unfortunately, it's at a time when there is no serious Western dominance from any given country. We have America with a tendency to squabble with all and sundry. We have Germany unwilling to pay its fair dues for NATO and the peace of Europe. We have the old USSR having collapsed, new efforts by Russia to re-establish its empire, with problems in the Ukraine and Belarus and many of the other regions of the old USSR. May you live in interesting times. And this at a time when we have a global pandemic, and that in Britain, for instance, as we've said, is killing 700 people out of every million of the population. It doesn't sound very high, but on the other hand, when you have a population of 68 million and almost 48,000 recorded deaths, that is not a pleasant situation. And in America, it is all very well to say it's only a bad flu, we're turning the corner, and the like, as Trump has been preaching. Figures are going up on a daily basis in America, and 240,000 people have died of COVID. That is the recorded deaths. These are people. They are not just numbers. And to flippantly try to dismiss them is to alienate a huge number of people in the society. And unfortunately, we're seeing this with a very finely balanced election. We still don't know who has won, though we may well have our beliefs at this stage, and it is becoming a little clearer. It does show the country as staggeringly fractured, frighteningly fractured. So China is obviously going to take advantage of this. We have Britain gone back into lockdown today from midnight last night for a minimum of 1 month. It is promised that it will end 1 month from today. However, there is no statement that there will be no restrictions a month from today. I have a feeling that we will have continued restrictions right the way through, probably until middle or end of February, because we do need to deal with the virus, but we do need to keep some sort of industry going to pay for it, because no amount of printing money will solve our problem, because sooner or later you have to firm up your currency again. So it is a difficult time, a time that China is capitalizing on. And China has stopped flights from Britain unless they are of Chinese citizens. And it is understandable. Many countries would be well advised to shut their borders, not just to Britain, but to a whole raft of countries where the virus is doing well. China has, as far as we can work out, and based on what they tell us, which of course is dangerous to believe, controls its outbreak of COVID-19. But what will be the next mutation of the coronavirus, and what will that do to us, and when will that arrive? Because it is, in my opinion, and I stress my opinion, very optimistic to think in terms of a vaccine in any kind of reasonable time scale, purely and simply because we do not have a vaccine that I'm aware of for any virus whatsoever, which is a mutating virus. We have never managed to master it. Yes, we can give injections to inhibit it, but not a vaccine. So the very best is that we can have an element of control over the current coronavirus mutation. But what about the next one? That could happen in 6 months' time. It may be happening now, or it might not happen for 50 years, but it will come along one day.
Well, thank you, Greg. That's pretty comprehensive. And as you rightly point out, we cannot always believe the figures that come out of China. But interestingly, the Bloomberg article that I've read actually points out that economists generally, whilst they don't believe everything China tells them, generally accept that their economic recovery, for the want of a better word, is greater than that which we're experiencing in the West. But of course, as always, time will tell. Greg, any last points you wish to add? We've got about 1 minute left.
We must always remember that China is massive, not only in landmass, but also in population. And unlike the communism of Russia, where we sadly tend to laugh at the length of the queues to buy a cabbage, have you ever seen a Russian takeaway or any form of Russian enterprise outside of Russia? But China, they have so many enterprising individuals around the world. Even if you take purely Chinese food, there are Chinese food shops in almost every town and city. There are definitely Chinese restaurants and Chinese takeaways. All of them run on capitalist lines to make a profit, but frequently on a socially responsible basis within their own community, in that they employ and house their own peoples. So they are marching around the world, even at the level of restaurants.
Greg, thank you very much. And as I said, I shall be publishing this article on the Illuminati Silver channel, but I might also put the article solely up on this channel after this video. So rather than extend this particular conversation, because the article is about 20 minutes long to read, I shall put it up as a separate entity. Greg, thank you very much. No doubt we shall be talking empires and dynasties at our next meet, perhaps in a day or so time.
And good luck to America.
Yes, indeed. Results, we're all waiting with bated breath. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if so, kindly subscribe to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of our videos as and when they are published. And also in the description box below, we place links to certain books, articles, and programs which you may find of benefit, and for which we will receive a small commission should you purchase through our link. And this will help support our channel and to enable us to develop it further.